Comments on this. I can't even begin to tell you how dangerous this act is. First, it was passed in the middle of the night with 40 minutes to read an 800-page bill, which is unacceptable. As of January 1st, 2023, the following things will go into effect, and people need to be aware of this. It abolishes cash bail for almost every offense. This includes, but isn't limited to, kidnapping, armed robbery, second-degree murder, drug-induced homicide, aggravated DUI, threatening a public official, and aggravated fleeing and eluding. Offenders released on electronic monitoring have to be in violation for 48 hours before law enforcement can act. They could almost drive to Alaska before we can even look for them. It denies victims their constitutional rights. And keep this in mind, businesses and homeowners. Officers will no longer be able to remove trespassers from your residence or your businesses. Someone could decide to live in your shed, and all we can do is give them a ticket. You have to decide what level of force is required to remove them and whether or not it's legal. This is a massive threat to the residents of Orland Park, Cook County, and Illinois. I want to remind voters that several elected officials that will be on the ballot in Orland Park voted for this abomination. Senator Michael Hastings, Senator Emil Jones, and Representative Justin Slaughter all voted to put criminals ahead of the safety of law-abiding citizens and police. In particular, Senator Hastings, who personally told me that that he had a family and that this bill was horrible and there was no way he would vote for it. An outright lie that, in my opinion, disqualifies him to hold his office. I will gladly cast my vote for this resolution and demand the repeal of the Orwellian-named Safety Act. But it doesn't end here. There is currently a bill in front of the House to remove school resource officers from our schools, which means no resource officer at Sandburg High School. The city of Chicago has already done this. I personally don't want to see the city of Chicago become the standard for how we conduct public safety, because they've abandoned their police officers and abandoned their residents and created a war zone full of criminals. There's also a bill to make fentanyl a misdemeanor in this state. And I want to remind you that we have representatives that currently represent us or will represent us potentially in the federal government that voted to not extend the fentanyl ban federally. Fortunately, it passed, but there are people that actually believe that we shouldn't have a ban on fentanyl that currently represent our community. That's just absolutely unacceptable. It's like they won't stop until they destroy our communities and our society. We all need to take a stand against this. This is a very, very dangerous bill.
If you don't know, now you know. You better pay attention, because in Chicago, starting January 1st, 2023, guess what? Second-degree murder, kidnapping, any of these things are no longer detainable. They will no longer put these people in jail. They will arrest them, take them to court, book them, and let them go. Cash bond no longer exists in Chicago after January 1st, 2023. The purge is here, people. Illinois is going to be the new crime capital of the world. You better pay attention and stop calling me a conspiracy theorist.
A business owner in Spring says he's had enough.
Yeah, first struggling to stay afloat during the pandemic, then supply chain issues, now thieves targeting his store. Lauren Tallarico has the story.
Being a small business owner has been a little bit scary at times for Glenn Materian. Haunted by the very real frights of staying afloat the past few years.
COVID and parties just didn't happen. But rent did.
Even now, Cool Cat Party Warehouse off Spring Cypress Road is dealing with supply chain issues, a knock-on effect of COVID-19.
This has been a challenge.
So on Sunday, when these two women picked trick over treat, Glenn had enough. He says one woman pretended to need his help while the other one rolled $1,000 worth of supplies out the door and started loading their car. Glenn chased him down.
You know, the thing you're not supposed to do? Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of frustration of working your butt off, having individuals, I guess, that feel they're entitled to something that they're not.
He got some items back, but another 400 worth of fog machines got away. Frustrated, he posted the alleged video of the thieves online.
One of the comments on the Facebook page that said, "Hey, I just saw that girl in blue in handcuffs."
Constable Mark Herman's office says these women were arrested that same day, caught stealing $2,000 worth of stuff from a nearby Party City and $1,000 worth from Marshalls. Officials believe they're also the Cool Cat thieves, but are still investigating. Glenn wants his stuff back, but even more so, hopes owning a small business
It takes its toll.
gets a little bit easier. I'm Lauren Tellerico, KHOU 11 News.
Well, many store owners in Philadelphia say their business is under constant threat by shoplifters. Retail theft, they say, is a problem that's reaching crisis proportions. And as Bob Brooks explains, merchants are largely blaming the city's legal system.
Vincent Emanuel says his 7-Eleven store in South Philadelphia is in real trouble, and the reason is shoplifting.
There's a 911 call goes out of the store almost like every day from the store.
He even gave us videos of recent incidents. In the most recent case, we see a large group of teens come in at once, take items, then walk out. And another one, we see someone putting items right into their bag.
They're coming with bags. They're filling it up and walking right out. Who would need 24 cans of Red Bull?
Not far from his shop, Mohammed Friedis of Mizu Boutique, also in South Philadelphia, says more of the same.
For the past 4 to 3 months, it's been constantly break-ins, attempted break-ins.
He too gave us security video of thieves who recently smashed out his front windows and then ransacked his store for the next 25 minutes. Almost everything was taken.
Merchandise about $47,000 to $50,000 roughly, and store damages over $7,000 to $8,000.
They both feel as if Philadelphia law enforcement has taken a soft stance on the matter. If this keeps going on,
I think I don't think I'll be open.
And Emanuel points to a policy implemented by District Attorney Larry Krasner back in 2018 to charge shoplifting as summary offenses unless the case exceeds $500 or the suspect has a long history of theft convictions.
They need to take a little bit more tougher stand on this stuff.
But tonight, the spokesperson with the DA's office says they are prosecuting for retail theft, adding that, according to the Philadelphia Police Department and criminal courts data, arrests by police for retail theft are up 10% over this time last year, and charges from our office are up 13% over this time last year. Okay, Rick, now the DA's office says if the suspect is caught, they could elect to have them undergo an alternative punishment like return the stolen goods or undergo some type of treatment for mental health, illness, or substance abuse. But then again, of course, they could still be prosecuted. If not putting in Center City, Bob Brooks, Channel 6, Action News.
An Oakland business owner is speaking out tonight after his car stereo shop was raided by a group of thieves who broke in through the roof. He says they got away with more than $100,000 worth of equipment. KTVU's Amber Lee joins us now. She's live in Oakland tonight after speaking with that owner who's frustrated with the lack of police patrolling that area. Amber.
Julie, the shop owner tells me he's feeling helpless as his business and others are being hit by thieves. In each case, the thieves are breaking in through the roof. This surveillance video shows the thieves breaking in by climbing down 2 ladders after they cut a hole in the roof of the Sound Factory, an auto alarm and stereo business in Oakland's Fruitvale district.
It's terrible because what I say, we lose a lot of money right here. The whole loss is over $150,000. That's what all my life here.
Owner Jose Torres says he has been in business here for 33 years without a problem. But on July 17, around 1 o'clock in the morning, a brazen burglary. 3 thieves broke into the business, stole items including car stereo and alarm equipment, and 3 cars.
And open up the roof right there, and whoever jumps, they jump and fell up right here in this part right here. All this was on the floor when I came in.
Torres shows us the vehicle the thieves damaged when they pulled out of the garage with the cars they were stealing. One by one, the thieves drove out, forcibly pushing the vehicle parked at the gate out of the way.
But I want down more police in the area and taking care of all the neighbors, taking care of the businesses. I'm hungry and I'm frustrated, but we can do nothing about it.
Torres says his shop was one of at least 3 in the area burglarized the same way in the month of July. Across the street at American Auto Repair, thieves broke in by cutting a hole in the roof. Just earlier this month, thieves broke into a strip mall in Little Saigon, also by cutting a hole in the roof.
Every night I'm looking at my phone to see if something happened in my shop. I can't sleep right now. If this type of problems continue, we have to sell the property, sell whatever my business and going out of town, going somewhere else. This place is dangerous now.
Torres tells me whether he moves his business out of Oakland depends on how much he can recoup with insurance and if these types of burglaries continue in his neighborhood. I've reached out to Oakland police but have not heard back. Julie?
Ongoing problem of crime in Oakland's Little Saigon neighborhood.
Yeah, just this past week, at least 7 shops were robbed in and around International Plaza. They included several restaurants, a water supply store, hair salon, laundromat, and flower shop. And owners say it took police hours to respond to their calls for help.
And it's not just property crimes. Last month, an Uber driver, Con Fung, was shot and killed in broad daylight not far from the strip mall. Now, following these most recent robberies, the owners met today to figure out how to step up their own security.
And as KPX5's Dahlin reports, they feel they have to do something themselves since they don't trust police to do anything about it.
Fed-up business owners say they can't rely on the Oakland police, so they had a meeting to come up with their own solutions. After the first alarm went off, it took Oakland police close to 3 hours to respond to multiple burglaries at a strip mall in Oakland's Little Saigon district.
Shocked. Kind of mad.
Not just mad at the thieves, but also mad at the police.
I just want to know why they came like 2 hours later.
V&J Fusion restaurant owner Simon Liu says the slow response sends an invitation to burglars to hit up all Oakland businesses.
Police is not really reliable, you know? Like, call them, they don't come.
Surveillance footage shows on Monday morning a group of people cut holes and entered most of the businesses from the roof. The first alarm went off at 4:32 a.m. The alarm company sent a notification to the Oakland police. A police spokesperson says because they get so many alarm notifications, the alarm that came from this laundromat was placed on a low priority list. Police say a Cantonese speaker called 911 at 6:11 a.m. Because of the language barrier, officers thought the burglars had already left, so that call was also placed on a low priority list. Surveillance footage shows the burglars ransacked all 7 businesses and left around 6:30, 2 hours after they first broke in. They took their time, even with the alarm blasting. Oakland police showed up at 7:24 a.m., almost 3 hours after the first alarm was tripped, and more than an hour after the first 911 call. Oakland police say officers were handling multiple shootings on Monday morning, including 2 major incidents from Sunday. They say they sent officers as quickly as they could. They say the response time to the strip mall was actually decent compared to other burglaries.
I think it's really sad that it takes such a long time for the police to respond. They promised us.
Jim Nguyen with the Unity Council and the business owners met with a law enforcement expert on Friday to prevent future burglaries. They're looking at gates at the small plaza and adding big bright lights for nighttime visibility.
We're talking to business owners about having network lights.
While Simon believes the meeting was useful, he says they need the police to do better.
We're just all small business trying to make it, you know? And we definitely need protection because when incidents like that happen, people are scared to come over here, and that's bad for business.
Given the recent robberies and shootings in the Little Saigon district, Oakland police assigned a liaison officer to this area. They're down 73 officers. Right now, they have 653 officers in the city. In Oakland, I'm Dahlin, KPIX5.
Some eye-opening new numbers about San Francisco's car break-in epidemic.
It's a problem that's gotten so bad. Listen to what tourists are being told.
We're visiting from Tampa, Florida, and we were told it would be best not to rent a car because of there was a lot of break-ins. Like if they see a purse, something small, anything, they will break the window and grab it and go.
Well, that tourist took the advice. Others are not so lucky, as we've seen over and over again. KPIX5's Betty Yu is along the Embarcadero this evening in the hot zone for break-ins. Betty?
Liz, tonight I spoke with business owners in nearby Fisherman's Wharf, and they told me they can count on seeing car break-ins during the day, almost every day on the job. And tonight they want to know from the city what exactly is happening. Witnesses caught this smash and grab involving a black Mercedes near Pier 39 in late October. The victim, who was visiting from Miami, told me he and his friend lost $8,000 worth of photography and hiking gear. More than a week later, two burglars in a black Mercedes are seen in Fisherman's Wharf, pulling off a smash and grab. The victim told me her family stopped to ride the cable car. A worker is seen watching the crime in progress.
I'm so glad that we were advised not to, warned about that.
This couple from Tampa is relying on walking and ride shares.
The hotel manager had talked to us and asked us, where we're from and do we have a rental vehicle? And when we answered some of those questions, said no. He said, okay, that's good, and explained that there's a lot of thievery, especially with car break-ins in the area.
Tampa Bay is seen its fair share, but it's not like this, no.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because the people here are a little more easier on the rules and regulations here.
We asked the DA about the rash of break-ins. The office said currently only about 2% of auto burglaries in San Francisco result in an arrest, and we have prosecuted the overwhelming majority of those auto burglary cases. SFPD did not respond to repeated requests for comment. Clearance rates show that this year the department cleared 3.5% of larceny cases, which includes car burglaries, in the Central District, which covers the city's hottest tourist spots. Prior to Chesa Boudin taking office, the department cleared 9% in the same time period. And we should note that today we learned that the DA Chesa Boudin will face a recall election in June of 2022. Liz?
Yeah, it's just gotten crazy out there. Betty, has the city taken any other actions of its own?
Well, we learned about 3 weeks ago from the mayor that they do have a cash reward system for information that will lead to the conviction of the crime ringleaders behind these auto burglaries. And so far, one witness I spoke to says she definitely plans to pass that video on to the mayor's office.
It's just amazing how brazen these thieves are. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
A punch in the gut for Punch-Out Gaming in Forest Lake. The small business broken into with thieves making off with thousands in Pokemon merchandise. That's our top story tonight. Good evening, I'm Karen Scullin. Surveillance video catches a thief busting into a small business, but the thief isn't after cash. He takes off with Pokemon cards. Fox 9's Mary McGuire with more on the crime and the price tag on the stolen goods that will likely surprise you.
It's like a scene out of an Ocean's 11 movie. A thief breaks into a store by busting down a wall. But in this case, they weren't after cash or jewelry. They were after Pokemon products.
Pokemon's literally the hottest thing right now.
For the last year and a half, everything Pokemon has been a huge hit with customers at Punch-Out Gaming in Forest Lake.
It says Pokemon on it, like I said, it sells.
Early Thursday morning, trading cards and games were flying off the shelves, but not in a good way.
They broke through the walls, crawled through, and took all the sealed product out of there.
Caught on the gaming store's surveillance cameras, a thief broke into a vacant store next door, busted through the wall, and shimmied through the hole. At one point, they noticed the cameras.
Tries to rip it off. Unsuccessful, and then he puts tape over it, which he took his gloves off and put fingerprints on the tape.
Over the course of about 2 hours, they emptied 2 entire storage rooms full of Pokemon products, never opening the door that would have tripped the alarm system.
I did inventory on it, and it was over $250K worth of Pokemon product. He must have had help because there was a lot of boxes.
Johnson opened Punch-Out Gaming 8 years ago with his twin brother.
I realized how much money and product and time we put into it, and I just started crying. I'm like, I can't recover this product because our distributors don't have any. So even with insurance money, that doesn't do us any good.
This theft has been a big hit to the small family-owned store.
I would love to see the guy caught for sure. Can't do this to small businesses.
Forest Lake police are now investigating and call the man in the surveillance video a person of interest that detectives definitely want to talk to. Reporting in Forest Lake, Mary McGuire, Fox 9.
Right now, 10:30, $2 billion. That is how much federal agents have seized from people who have taken cash inside an airport. And get this, Charlotte Douglas International Airport ranks as the 10th highest for cash seizures in the nation.
Now, the Fed seized $55 million from passengers there from 2000 to 2016. As Fox 46 chief investigator Jody Barr explains tonight, prosecutors rarely charge anyone with a crime, but the government kept the money anyway.
An officer walked up to me and he said, my dog hit your bag, which his dog hadn't even been between my legs at this time, and my bag's in between my legs.
Cody James walked into Charlotte Douglas Airport in July to catch a flight to Oregon. It was a weekend trip to visit a friend he'd grown up with outside Charlotte. But minutes before boarding,
he said, you mind if my dog searches your bag? It's a narcotics dog. I said, I don't mind. I don't have any narcotics. So I went up like this, and I handed my bag to him, and he tossed it on the ground like this, and he was hollering at his dog, and then he said, here, just like that.
Two law enforcers went into his backpack and found his cash.
He told me from the beginning that he wasn't giving me my money back.
The Transportation Security Administration had just minutes before x-rayed and searched his luggage, then waved him through. James says the TSA never said anything to him about the money. James was about to find out the TSA had tipped off an Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer about that cash.
He just took my money, and then 10 minutes later, 5 to 10 minutes later, he's gone. I can't find anyone, and anything everybody's telling me is to just call that number. It says TFO Brown. His name's Steve Brown.
James missed his flight, and this piece of paper is the only thing he left the airport with.
Look, it's U.S. currency with no amount. It was $27,600.
And why were you traveling with that?
I was traveling with that money because I'm going through a divorce, and I have a lot of court costs and stuff to pay, and I can't leave my money in my bank account now because my wife's been taking my money out of it.
James says TFO Steve Brown won't return his calls to find out how and why the government took his money, seemingly without reason. Then last month, the government sent him this letter accusing James of possessing money traceable to controlled substances. The letter informed him he could petition the government to try to get his money back.
I had no narcotics on me, absolutely no narcotics at all, and this is what I get.
Do you use any type of drugs?
No, sir.
Do you buy any type of drugs?
No, sir.
Do you sell any type of drugs?
No, sir.
Then what's going on here?
I have no idea. Robbery from the government.
James is not alone. Government records obtained from the Department of Homeland Security show from 2000 to 2016, the most recent data available, government agents seized $133 million from people at airports across North Carolina. Agents seized another $18 million from people at South Carolina airports. Over in Atlanta, at one of the nation's busiest airports, agents seized $109 million from people passing through. In those same 16 years, Homeland Security records show $1.8 billion seized from people at airports all across the nation. How many of those cases have turned out to be criminals?
The vast majority of folks who've approached us, we've looked into their situation, and it's not at all evident that these folks are criminals.
Dan Albin is an attorney with a D.C.-based nonprofit law firm, Institute for Justice. In January, the group filed a class action lawsuit against the TSA, DEA, and the federal government. If successful, the lawsuit could end these seizures, at least for the people who are never charged with a crime. The suit represents potentially thousands of people like Cody James.
It's humiliated me, this whole process.
Where the feds seized their cash and have yet to prove a dime was earned through a criminal act.
And the policy basically is, if we see cash, we will seize it. And they don't ever have to charge those folks with a crime. They don't have to get a conviction in court. They can just accuse the person of having some involvement with drug activity, and they keep their cash forever.
These seizures happen even though the TSA's own rulebook states you can fly domestically with any amount of cash, and you don't have to tell anyone you have it. It says here, TSA Rule 100.4 is traveling with large amounts of currency is not illegal, is what
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not. And that's why I said it's allowed. But again, when it's in the screening checkpoint, again, like I said, if there is a large amount of cash or if the way that it's packaged, it looks strange, then we're going to contact law enforcement.
The TSA was the only federal agency to agree to an interview. Neither ICE, the DEA, Homeland Security, nor Customs and Border Protection would even discuss scheduling an interview. Since Congress formed the TSA after 9/11, the agencies worked as frontline watchdogs, flagging passengers with cash.
Bottom line is what we're looking for are things that are dangerous on board an aircraft. Those prohibited items, those firearms, things like that we don't want on board or that could jeopardize the aircraft.
Is TSA looking at a bundle of cash as a potentially dangerous item to bring on board?
So it really, again, if you're taking a look at at a bag, right? Whenever something looks suspicious or is illegal, they're contacted and brought in at that point.
We want the public to be able to understand exactly, in TSA's eyes, why this appears to be something so dangerous that it will require calling a federal agent in to intercept it.
We don't seize it. The most we're going to do is notify law enforcement, and they will make the determination. So the framework is in place where if we see something suspicious.
Congress gave these agencies the power to seize in the 1984 Comprehensive Crime Control Act. The legislation was intended to fight organized crime and drug traffickers by stripping them of the money earned from their crimes. The law enforcement agencies seizing that money get to keep it. Those fighting the government in these seizure cases argue innocent people are getting nabbed along the way. If DHS was not allowed to keep 100% of these proceeds, do you believe that this would, if not stop tomorrow, would significantly decrease?
It would dramatically decrease. That is what is driving almost all of this activity.
There is a way for people to try to get this money back. The government files what's known as a civil asset forfeiture case in federal court, usually titled the United States versus whatever dollar amount seized. People then have to hire an attorney to go to court. But since these cases are not criminal, you have to prove you earned the money legally.
There is no presumption of innocence in civil forfeiture cases. And so all the government has to do is show that it's more likely than not that their cash is somehow connected to a crime, meaning it's 51% likely.
Is there any guarantee that even with an attorney involved that they will get their money back?
Unfortunately, there is no guarantee. The cards are stacked in favor of the federal government, and even a perfectly innocent person probably does not have very good odds of getting their property back once it's been seized.
This right here is my W-2 of 2020, and I made $89,567 through legally working at a Credo Packaging in Houston, Texas.
Cody James is going through that right now as he fights to get back his $27,000 in savings taken from him at the Charlotte airport in July.
I shouldn't have to keep explaining myself of what I'm doing with my money when I'm not doing nothing illegal. No one had nothing illegal on them. No one was doing nothing illegal.
And the government is now, you're going to have to prove to the
government that where all this money came from, when they should have to prove why they took all this money.
An interrogation inside the Raleigh airport and a federal agent looking to make a deal.
If you choose to abandon and walk away from the money in any type of federal investigation, you're welcome to do that.
If it appears that government agents are asking people to essentially sign this money over to us and we'll pretend this never happened, how is that fighting crime?
It's not.
Behind airport doors, coming up when our cash grab investigation continues after the break.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge sanctioned by the U.S. government. Weapons of Class 4 and lower have been authorized for use during the purge. All other weapons are restricted. Government officials of ranking 10 have been granted immunity from the purge and shall not be harmed. Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the purge concludes. Blessed be our new founding fathers and America, a nation reborn. May God be with you all.